To our weekly Forex market analysis call, and this is for trading for the week of May 14th to the 18th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be very careful with your money. All right, so we will start off by taking a look at our Forex factory here, first of all, as usual. So this week, just before we actually get started, just a quick comment on stuff that happened last week. So one main thing that happened, so you must have noticed volatility in the market. One of the main reasons for that was to do with the US pulling out of the nuclear deal, the Iran nuclear deal that created a lot of volatility in the market. And also, so the reason the Iran nuclear deal is important is because, or the reason it was having impact on the markets here was because there's speculation now if Iran is not supplying the oil, there'll be a shortfall in the oil. So it's not supposed to impact the market just yet because there is a lot of inventory, oil inventories that are oil reserves that we still have. So that's not a concern just yet. But down in the third quarter, fourth quarter, that's when there will be that concern of supply of oil. However, because market participants were speculating, we saw a price of oil start to go up, and as a result, dollar CAD went down and Canadian dollar became stronger. And then we have Bank of England monetary policy statement came out, and essentially Bank of England said that they are still thinking of doing interest rate hikes, but they won't be this year. They didn't really give any specific time frame for doing those hikes, and the market was actually looking for interest rate hikes this year from Bank of England, but they didn't actually say that they wouldn't do them this year, but they just were concerned about the different things going on in the market, and they didn't really provide any guidance around when the interest rate hikes might happen. As a result of that, we saw British pound drop. So those were some of the key things that impacted the market. On Friday, we had Canadian dollar data that came out negative. As a result of that, we saw impact from that. So coming up on Monday here, we have a monetary policy for meeting minutes for Australia. Our Australian RBA, Reserve Bank of Australia, is another one of those banks who's not intending to do any interest rate hikes at this point. So what we're looking for here would be what they talked about in terms of when they may change their monetary policy, and any of the discussion around the state of the economy, all of that. So if the tone is hawkish, if they're positive about the economy and the growth, then this will be positive for Australian dollar. Otherwise, we'll have a negative impact there. On Tuesday here, we have average earnings as well as employment data for British pound here. Again, this is always very important numbers that comes out. So it is important. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, we had inflation CPI data that came out negative for the US dollar, and that's why we saw on Friday, we saw US dollar take a hit as well. So that was, inflation data is very, very important because it's one of the key things that are key data points that the central banks will pay attention to when making decisions around monetary policy. So that's why we saw the US dollar drop as a result of negative data, because market participants are still looking for an interest rate hike from the Fed next month. However, it just creates issues when the data is not coming up. It just creates more uncertainty around interest rate hikes. And then we have inflation report hearings here for the British pound. Again, this is important. We saw the inflation report on Friday, last week, I should say. And so we have these hearings. Again, they will be important. Retail sales numbers will be important for the US. If they are positive, that will be good for the US, but negative number, I think, will have more of an adverse impact than a positive, or than the positive impact on the positive number. So if we get negative numbers, they will basically compound previous CPI numbers or the negative CPI numbers. So that will cause more of a negative impact here on the US dollar. So that's important. Wage index, this is the average earnings, similar to average earnings here. Again, very important number, because as the employment goes up, they want to see the wages go up as well. And that's why if they don't go up, it has a negative impact on the currency. Wednesday here, we have ECB President Draghi speaking. Anytime there's a central banker talking, we have to pay attention because it could have an impact on the market. So we'll keep that in mind. Building permits numbers, it will be important for the US. Crude oil inventories is always important for the Canadian dollars. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And then we have another central banker talking here for Swiss National Bank, and mainly it will be the Swiss franc that will be impacted by that. More numbers for Australia here will have a direct impact on Australian dollar. And then finally on Friday, CPI and co retail sales numbers, again, two important numbers that the banks will keep an eye on, especially on the inflation number here. So this is what we need to pay attention to. So a lot of data coming up. We'll just have to look at it as we go. All right, so next one here, we'll take a look at, okay, so next we'll go to our chart. So let's take a look here. So as usual, we'll start with our Euro US dollar chart. All right, so last week we were looking for a drop. We got our drop, but now we have a big pin in the bottom. So we have come into the next support and resistance level here, 1.1820, and price has pushed up since then. So with this one here, this shows rejection. So the buyers have stepped in, and price is having trouble here. So now there are two things that we need to pay attention to, or we need to kind of take a look at here. So now if euro breaks up higher here, so if it breaks up to the upside and then pulls back and stays above the pin here, then we're looking for price to move up higher. So overall, my bias is to the upside. However, if it doesn't break through the pin here, then we may not get the move higher. So that's something that we have to pay attention to, because if it holds below our resistance level here, then it could do a double top and drop as well. So right now, just where it is in terms of our support resistance, if this happens, then it's likely to drop. So in this case, we have to be open to both sides of the move here. So the bias will be to the upside, but if it doesn't break 1.1980 level here, then it can just drop. So that's the caveat here. We'll have to look at that, because in that case, if price gets stuck below our resistance level here, it could come all the way down, give us a double bottom, and then kind of go back into the range here. It could turn range bound from this point. So that's why we need to take a look at what happens at 1.1980 level. If it stays below, then we're looking for it to drop. If it goes through, then looking for a pullback and looking for a bullish move to the next level. And the higher level target would be 1.2130 level, which is the top of this candle. For pound dollar here, pound dollar has been going sideways for the entire week, and this is what we could start seeing from the euro here. But pound has been going sideways. It's been range bound the entire week. So if you take a look at the weekly candle, it's a very, very neutral candle, because price hasn't really broken out of this daily range for the entire week. So with this one, we do need to see price break out of the range. It's kind of similar to this here, where price had started moving upwards and then it became range bound and finally broke through the range. So we'll have to either see the break of the range to the upside, in which case we'll look for price to move up higher. And let's look at, here we go. So that in that case, we're looking for a move higher to 137.50 level. or we need to see a drop below the range here. And in that case, our target would be 1.3280. So far for the last few weeks, we have seen some nice moves, nice trending moves. And now we are at that point where prices are changing. The market is turning, and it's the turning points that can be the most difficult to trade because we don't know what it's going to do, whether it's going to pull back or it's going to continue on. So just a note of caution there. Anytime we are into this type of a sideways move, we just have to be careful, and we need to see price either break to the upside or break downwards. And based on that, we would have to make that decision. So right now we have pins on both sides. It's completely neutral. So what are we looking for? We're looking for a break above, pull back and hold, and then a move to the upside, or we need to see a break below, pull back, and then we're looking for move to the downside. So considering we are in this type of a scenario, if it breaks above our daily range here, then the next target would be 137.50. If it breaks below here, then our next target is 1.3280. So those will be the two targets for British pound. Again, we need to see which way it breaks. Aussie dollar here. Aussie, again, we have seen a large pin. So with this one, price is, we are kind of in the similar situation where we saw with the euro here. We have a large pin to the downside. This suggests that price had trouble here breaking through the support. Now it's holding above. So with this one here as well, we are at that level where either we need to see a break. We need to actually see a break above here for it to continue. So my bias is to the upside, but again, we have a caveat, because if it gets stuck here, if it does not break above 75.80, then it could come all the way down to test the bottom and give us a bit of a double bottom, and we could start seeing similar moves to British pound, where pound dollar, where price is just going sideways for days till it's ready to break out. So here it's been going sideways. On the daily, it has pulled back, but on the weekly here, we do have a doji or a pin bar here, and we just need to see where it breaks. So the way I'm going to trade this is I will take a look at where what happens at 75.80 level. If price still stays below this level, then I'm looking for price to come back down, test the bottom of our range here, and then do one of these. Now, on the other hand, if price drops and then breaks below, then I'm looking for a pullback and a hold, and then I'm looking for the next level for the price to get to, which would be 73.30 level. So we're looking for price to show us the market direction. So at this point, we don't know where it's going to go. So we just need to wait and see what happens with it. So those would be the two levels that I would mark, and just keep them in mind here. And so either way the price, but first I'm looking for it to go up. And this will here, 75.80 will be the critical area to watch out for. New Zealand dollar, we still have a weakness in this one. We did see the monetary policy actually from New Zealand dollar last week as well, and it was negative. So there was a bearish response to that. We saw New Zealand dollar drop. So here we see there's still weakness. So it's not like Australian dollar where we have a pin bar. We still have a bearish candle, but there is a large pin in the bottom as well, and the size of the pin is almost the same as the size of the candle itself. So what does that mean? It means we could see a retest of the bottom once again here. So I would look for price to retest the bottom, and the bottom here will be more important. So bias will be to the downside, but I would be cautious. I would be very cautious here. If price does not break the bottom, then we could get a double bottom type of scenario, and I would look for price to go and test the high once again. And like I said, we are kind of in the at an interesting point after several weeks of drop here. Now price is starting to turn around. So we have to be careful with this week's trading, because it's the choppy markets that can really give us problems. Trending markets are easier to trade than the choppy markets. Okay, so what am I looking for here? My bias is to the downside. I'm looking for a retest of the bottom of 0.6900. If price holds above that level, then I'd be looking for a move all the way back into 70.50 level, into this high, or potentially even into 7100, so 0.7100. And if it drops below here, breaks through the bottom, drops below, then I'm looking for a continuation move to the downside. So those are the two scenarios. Again, like I said, it's at one of those levels where we have to be careful. So bias is to the downside for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD has been interesting. We had seen price go up, and it was trading in this range for the longest time. It broke out to the upside into the next support and resistance area, all the way to the high here, and then dropped from there. So now we came back into the range, and we went all the way into the bottom, and we have pullbacks now. So if you take a look at it from our daily perspective here, we are right in the middle here. So we're kind of in this mess here that price was in for a while here. So we do have a bearish candle close here. So I'm looking for further bearishness, so looking for price to drop, but it could go up prior to that. And with this one, we need to keep an eye on oil as well. So what I'd be looking for will be something like this. I'm looking for a retest of 1.2900 or 2920 level, and then looking for price to drop from there. So basically looking for a retest of this previous support and resistance level. And I would be looking for this type of triple top or something from head or shoulders, whatever you want to call it, basically looking for price to go to the left and test the same level, 1.29, 12 or 20-ish level like this, and then drop to the bottom. Target would be 1.2730 level, and then if it drops through, then I'm looking for price to come into the bottom. So overall bias is still to the downside, but I am looking for price to pull up first before it drops. Euro pound was interesting. We had moves on both sides here. Prior to the Bank of England, we saw price drop, and then we saw it go back up. So craziness with euro pound. In this case, we do have this pin bar here, and it's pushing right into the resistance. So my bias will be to the upside here. We do need to clear the resistance at 88.40 level, but the bias is once it clears that, bias will be all the way back to the top here. So kind of like this. But because we have bearishness in here, anytime there's just like this one here, because we have bearishness in here, it can do a test of the bottom before going up, kind of similar to this. So that scenario is definitely something that can happen. But overall, I'm looking for price to move up higher, and target would be 89.50 to the upside. Let's take a look at pound CAD here. Pound CAD, the bias is bearish to neutral here. We have pins on both sides. We have small candle body, so that looks quite neutral at the moment. As we can see, we are stuck behind this resistance here. So what can we expect here? I'm looking for price to go and test the high potentially, and then drop from there, and looking for price to go into 1.7150. So this is completely neutral, so we could get one of these moves where price goes up, test the high, gives us a double top or something, comes all the way into the bottom, gives us a double bottom, and go sideways, because as we can see, those other pairs are going sideways as well, pound as well as Canadian dollar. So this could give us a similar move. So I'm looking for price to essentially trade between the two levels, looking for potential selling at 1.7560 and potential buying at 71.50. So that's the bias for pound CAD. Euro CAD here. Euro CAD actually gave us this daily candle here, so bullish engulfing candle. On the weekly, this one does have bearishness in it, but now we could see price test the bottom potentially and then go back higher again. So maybe something like this, and then like that. So basically I'm looking for price to range here for the candle, because we do have, so this is bearish to neutral, that's the bias, and so I'm looking for this type of a move. Price drops into the bottom, double bottom, and then goes up all the way into the high, potential double top, and then comes back into the range. So this week I am not expecting much of a trending or very many trending moves. A lot of it is market going sideways, kind of trying to digest all the information that has come into the market at this point. So between monetary policies and trade wars, and now we have nuclear war, treaty and all that kind of stuff. So all of that just creates volatility in the market. We like volatility, but too much volatility is a bad thing, because we don't know where the market's going or what it's doing. So there's a lot of sentiment and emotion that comes into the market that drives the prices instead of actual real reasons for moving the market. And also because we have seen several weeks of drops, now it just makes sense for the market to take a breather or go sideways, that type of stuff. So that's why I'm looking for a lot of sideways moves this week. So let's go on to Pound Aussie here. Pound Aussie is looking great. We have a pin bar here, so let me just get rid of some of these. Okay, so we have a pin bar here, and as a result of that, I'm looking for price to drop here. So that's a nice doji looking bearish. Bias is bearish. In this case, we could see price do one of these, pull back and then drop. And my bias will be to the downside for this one. But do be careful with the pullback, because it could pull back all the way into 1.8130 level even. The first pullback I would be looking for would be into 1.80 level, which is essentially right where it is. But it could pull back deeper and go all the way into this previous level, which is at 1.8140. So there's about 150 pip difference, so that's why we would have to be careful. But overall, I'm looking for price to drop. Next target is 1.7600 will be my target to the downside, which is the bottom of this candle. So now we have, this one is more of a trending move here. We're seeing price drop, so I'm looking for it to continue down here. Euro Aussie. This one is looking bearish as well, looking for price to go into 1.5620 level. But again, we have seen price have problem right over here. So we need to see price drop, pull back, and then drop once again. So that's the type of move I'm looking, but we do need to see a break of the low here at 157.70 level, and then a further drop. So bias is to the biases to the downside. Okay, so all right, so let's move on to our Swiss crosses here. With the Swiss crosses looking a little messy here. Let's see, where are we? So here we are. So price has moved lower. Now we have a pin bar. So in this case, there is still a bearishness in the market. So we could see price drop like this and go back up again, test the high, and then go back up. So overall, we are still in this bullish bias here, but it's moving quite slowly. So it could come back down and then go higher. Overall, though, I'm looking for price to go up. Bias is bullish for this, but make sure that we watch out for these pullbacks and then further move to the upside. Pound Swiss franc here, this one is looking more bearish than the other one. We are into support though, so that's something we have to be careful with. Right into support at this moment, and we need to look for price to clear the support here and then go like this. So looking for price to get into the next level here, 1.3330 level to the downside, So we still have bearishness, but we do need to clear this support resistance level. So biases to the downside for pound Swiss. Dollar Swiss here. This one, we have gone into the next level of support and resistance. Now we have this pin bar, so I'm looking for price to drop further and looking at 0.9870 level for the next level to the downside. So bias is bearish for dollar Swiss franc. Pound yen here. Pound yen has sort of gone sideways here. It came into the bottom here, struggling with that. So it has pulled back. So if you take a look at the daily, it just hasn't really done a whole lot here. So with this one here, I'm still bearish on this because overall bias is bearish. It's pulled back now, and I am looking for price to drop. So I'm looking for one of these moves and looking for price to go lower. But again, we have to be careful that price breaks the bottom. We need to see a break of the bottom here, and then looking for price to drop further. So bearish bias, but we could see a pullback here. This is the concern, that it could pull back higher. So price could go kind of go like this and then come back down. So again, we are in that sideways type of market where we could see more pullbacks, and then price goes into the high of 150.50 level and then does a drop from there. And then in that case, the target would be 147. And then we are looking for further targets to the downside. So this week we have to be careful with our trading. In this case here, this is our euro yen. Price came into the bottom, tested the low, and then we have a bullish pin bar. So here we're looking for a further move to the upside here. 132.50 will be the target to the upside. So looking for price to go up higher. Dollar yen. Dollar yen, it's just sideways at the moment. We had a doji here, went and tested the high once again. We could get another test of the high. So we could do one of these triple top type of formations here. But right now it's just sideways and hasn't really gone anywhere. So if we take a look at the daily, price is sideways, and we could see right now it's just trading the range. So it's very much range bound. Again, we need to see a break of the range. So right now I would look for price to come into the low of 108.70 and potentially go up from there and go test the high and just trade the range. So best type of scenario in a range bound market is selling at the high 109.98, so 110 level, that's bearish. 108.80 level, that is bullish. So until such time that price breaks out of this range, we're going to trade this as a range bound market. Aussie yen, looking bullish at the moment, looking for price to move up higher. First target is 83.10, and then it can go into 8400 level. So it's looking bullish at the moment. CAD yen. CAD yen is still sitting in that range that it's been in for a while. So in this case, it is neutral, bullish to neutral here. And again, range bound for several weeks now, hasn't really broken out of this range. So again, looking for a sell at 8600, looking for a buy at 8400, 84.00 I should say. So looking for more of a range bound market, and until such time that it breaks out of the range, then either we could look for next level to the upside, which is our 87.80 level, or we would be looking for next level lower, which would be 82.70. But first we need to, I'm just going to look for a range bound market till it breaks out. All right, so let's take a look at gold here. Gold at the moment, still looking range bound. We've been in this range for a period of time now. Price came into the bottom here, has pushed off, but it is sitting low at the moment. Right now, it is sitting lower into this, below this previous support and resistance level right there. So if price stays below this level, then we could see price drop like this and then do one of these So what am I looking for? That's the move I'm looking for, or looking for price to retest the 1326 level. If it stays below, then looking for it to test the bottom of the range once again. If it breaks through, then I'm looking for price to stay below and looking for price to go into 1280 level. And especially if we see US dollar start to weaken, we are likely to get gold going up. But if US dollar strengthens, then gold can come down here. So overall, though, this is a move I would look for, but because we are in range-bound move, and we have been in quite some time in a range-bound market, what happens is price comes into the bottom and then goes up, breaks through, and goes up like that. So this is the base case scenario where we are trading the range and looking for price to stay within the range. But second scenario is price tests high, breaks through, and does one of these. All right, so next one, Euro Aussie. Let's take a look at Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie, it's going sideways at the moment, but overall it has made lower highs and lower lows. We are sitting into support. Overall, the bias is to the downside, but we have it's testing the bottom, and it's kind of struggling with that right now. So I would like to see a break of the low, hold, and then price to move into the next level here. So let's get, so next level will be 136.20, but we need to see a break below here. If it doesn't break, then price could just go do one of these. So that's what I would be careful about. But once it breaks through the bottom here, through the support here, then looking for price to go into 1.5620 level. All right, any other questions? Okay, if not, then just a reminder here. So it's the last opportunity if you want to sign up for my trade room service or a signal service. As a part of that, what you get is you get access to my private Skype group where I share my trading ideas, and every day we hold our daily market analysis calls, and kind of similar to what we did here, we do it on a daily basis, and we're looking for what levels to take trades at. And then I also trade New York and London sessions. So Tuesday and Fridays, I trade the New York session. And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I trade the London session. So I look for live trades during those sessions. And also at the end of the day, when we're doing our daily market analysis calls, I'll send out a trade alerts that we let run overnight. And they usually play out in the London session where we just set them up and we let them run based on the crosses that we look at, the pairs that we look at. We pick a couple of the best ones and take trades in those that we just let run overnight. So when I send out my live trades, I do share with you my stop loss and take profit targets as well as the entry levels. So another thing we also do is every Friday we have a members only webinar, and this is an educational webinar, so I talk on a topic that everyone is, or some people may be struggling with. So we do educational webinars as part of the service as well as you get my pivot point indicator, which is one of my favorite indicators to trade. And then the cost of this is $97 a month, and you can sign up at this link at bit.ly TWV Trade Room. So this is the last day that this is going to be available. I'm making some changes to my service. So I'm going to get rid of this trade room. So we'll just be offering services in a slightly different manner, just kind of taking a look at what my vision is for what I'm doing here. So everything else, like our weekly analysis and stuff like that, will continue. Trade room will continue, but the format of it will change and the prices will go higher. But if you sign up now, you will have these prices for as long as you choose to stay the member. So regardless of what the new prices are, you will still be grandfathered in at this price. So your prices will not go higher. So this is the last opportunity to sign up. If you want to do that as of Monday, we'll just, the the link will come down, and then we'll be working on the new offerings. So that's all I have. If you'd like to sign up, you can go to this link and do so. So you guys have a wonderful rest of the week, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Thank you, Tom. I am a mother as well, and I am taking some relaxing time here. Anyway, so you guys have a wonderful trading week, and I will see you again next week for our weekly analysis. Bye for now.